This was the best movie going experience of my life. Seriously, it was one of the best moments, the best feeling ever in my life. Prepare yourselves, ladies and gentlemen. Get ready to be locked and loaded because I'm Isaac Joel with the critics at Agents of Fandom, and today we are breaking down John Wick Chapter 4, starring Keanu Reeves. I have been the biggest John Wick fan, I would say, from the get-go, the beginning, since I saw the first film. And let's all agree here, when that movie came out, it didn't feel like this big blockbuster name. It wasn't on the Mission Impossible scale. It wasn't something that everybody was even talking about or knew about. It was such a low budget little indie movie that came out from Lionsgate, a studio that really doesn't do any interesting movies at all, if I'm being completely honest, besides what, Tyler Perry movies. This film came out of nowhere and kind of shook the world with its story, how it told it, its visual aspects, its action sequences, its moments. It had a lot of great moments, and it was, what wasn't it, like short of 2 hours? Wasn't it like hour 50, hour 40? I don't even know for sure, but it wasn't even that long when we first started out with this series. Ever since then, this has blown up bigger than anybody would have predicted. I don't think anybody saw where it is that we are now with these characters, with this world. I have to be completely clear here. All of these movies hit. John Wick Chapter 1, 2, and 3, even 3 with that weird subtitle Parabellum, it still is a hitter. I will argue and say that the first one is a great indie movie. The second one is a fantastic sequel. And the third one is bigger and better and all of that. It fills in that. It really does feel, in a way, its own self-contained trilogy and conclusion. So making a fourth movie was sort of left field, was sort of asking for a little bit more out of its audience. I want to talk about the director here, Chad Stilisky, who has directed all four of these movies. All four of them. You know how much of a big deal that is? I had to look that up and make sure and confirm that this guy directed all of the movies, because very rarely in movie history, franchise history, do you get to have the same crew from the beginning to the end. And it shows. It shows. It is never. It is elevating. Sure, it is being a better version of itself every time, but never is it losing its essence, its true form, because this guy is driving the ship. He started off as a stunt coordinator and double for The Crow with Brandon Lee. God rest his soul. He went on to being a consultant for The Matrix, and for the first one he was, I believe, just a consultant, and then he started becoming a stunt double and doing more work for Keanu Reeves, and their relationship grew and grew over the years. And that is how you get a movie like John Wick. It is two close best friends who have been in the industry for years, who have seen things that they like, things that they don't like, and they are perfecting the neo-western genre, guys. I don't think anyone out there is putting anything that compares to this level, besides obviously Mission Impossible, which we'll have that conversation when that time comes. We are going to have to be able to compare these two action hitters of the year, because this year is going to be the most action film history of all. This John Wick Chapter 4 blew my freaking mind. Okay, I am sitting there in the theater, which usually I'm able to take guests with me, and for whatever reason, I was not able to take anyone with me. And I have seen every single John Wick movie with either my brothers, my father, my friends, someone close to me. I have always witnessed these movies on big screens with crowds. I did see this on a big screen. I saw this on one of the biggest screens ever. Thank God, because lately I've been going to screeners and watching them on small screens, and it really does affect your experience. If you are able to go see John Wick 4 on the most massive screen you can find, you will not be disappointed. It is a 2 hour and 50-minute movie, close to 3 hours. Now, listen, I sat through Babylon twice in the theaters. I sat through Avatar 2 twice in the theaters. I have no problem at all sitting through long movies. But what it is that you're bringing to the table, you are asking, and that's just me. Okay, I'm a cinephile. I love movies. I'll die for the films. But you have to realize that you have a normal audience, an average audience out there who needs to decide whether this is worth their time, whether they want to be in the seats for so long, and when they got to get up and now they're at the bathroom. They're constantly thinking about this stuff. Okay, your average moviegoer is constantly thinking about that. Okay, so that's going to be a challenge, I think, for some people. Nevertheless, the name itself, I don't even think people are going to look twice at that runtime. I think people are just going to rush to the theater without even giving it a second thought. And this movie is going to make a shit ton of money. Yes, I said it. It's going to make so much money. It's insane. I don't want to spoil. I'm not going to spoil this movie for you guys. I really just want to give you my first impressions, what it is that it made me feel. This was the best movie going experience of my life. Seriously, it was one of the best moments, the best feeling ever in my life. I'm sitting there in this theater, in this massive theater. I got all my food, my drinks, everything. I'm having a good time. I'm surrounded by good people. The curtain opens and everyone starts screaming and chanting and clapping. And every moment, all of the big moments that hit, this crowd was losing their mind. And I was so afraid to be the only one, as always. That's the guy in the theater that's always reacting to what's happening. And I was really trying to contain myself. But this crowd, the people around me were going. It was like I was at a concert. It was like I was at a full-on concert. This wasn't even an Avengers type level audience. This was something else. This was God. The movie is entirely focused on its action. I will argue and say that's going to be a pro and a little bit of a con for me, okay? Because the story, the emotional aspect of it, everything, the weight of all is kind of taking a back seat because we're so focused on just watching him go rampage to the next level, to the next mission, to the next sequence of events. But nevertheless, it never feels like it's too much. It never feels overbearing or overwhelming or like, dang, man, they've been going on for a while. Obviously, they coordinated every single hit that they possibly could. But I never seen a movie on this level because it felt like every camera move, every punch, every sound effect, every little detail really mattered. You could not miss your mark. You could not miss one beat filming a movie like this. This is the biggest cast I have ever seen in my life, and these people know what movie they're in. They know the franchise that they're in, and they are bringing 200% level energy to these characters. You have a lot of side characters. I will argue and say this movie has some of the best side characters and supporting roles of all of the franchise, and it's got some big hitters. You got Common, you got Ruby Rose, you got William Dafoe, you got some big names in this series. Okay, not like this. Not like this. They are bringing a whole other layer to it. I want to give a specific shout out to Donnie Yen, who plays Kane in this movie. And this was a character I was not ready for. I watched the trailers for this. I didn't know anything. As always, I try and immerse myself as the average moviegoer, and I want to come in and of course I've seen all the movies. I know where the story's going. I know where it can potentially go. The whole opening is at least an hour long. Like the introduction to this movie is the at least the first hour, the first level of John being on the run, killing people off one by one, trying to get to the high table, trying to get his freedom. That's really the synopsis, the base of this story. You got Bill Skarsgård in here, who does absolutely no action. Nothing at all. He doesn't throw a punch, doesn't nothing. He does nothing besides being his character. I think Donnie Yen Kane is going to be that character for everybody. If you want to go see this movie twice because of him alone, I guarantee you he's going to get a spin-off series. There's no way they spent so much time developing his backstory, his character, his relationship, his chemistry. They were really scratching the surface with this guy. If this really is the end for him, then fine, by all means. That's totally cool with me. This movie is split into 3 sections. The first hour being John on the run. The second one, him making this dual request with Bill Skarsgård's character so that he can regain his freedom and this all can be over with. And then you have the final act, those last 50 minutes, which is John trying to survive till sunrise to get to the duel, to claim his freedom. But of course, there's a bounty on his head, and everybody in town wants a piece of that action. And then it just gets higher and higher and higher. And the stakes are getting more and more and more. And it just doesn't quit. It just doesn't quit. This is a movie that doesn't quit at all. Apparently, they did confirm a chapter 5, but Keanu is also kind of on the fence and says, I don't really know where we're going to be at with that. We have to see how audiences react to the ending that we brought for them. I don't want to spoil the ending. I'm not going to tell you guys anything about the ending. I'm not going to give anything away. I promise, I swear. But for me, I am confused as to how they would even do a chapter 5, because this is a conclusion. This is a closing chapter. This is a beautiful send-off, and that's why if it's so big is because it's this massive send-off for a legend, for a king, for a loving husband. He is everything to these people, man. He has been their knight in shining armor. And I think it's totally cool if they want to send off this, but I don't know how they're going to do a chapter 5, what that would even look like. And I know we were asking these questions back when chapter 3 came out and he fell down from the sky. And you're like, but what? How are we going to continue this on? What's he going to come for? You know, that was bad and everything, but how are we going to move forward? They step up their game, lighting, cinematography, sound design. I'm in the middle right now of editing 2 feature-length films, and this movie is the reason why I'm a film director. This is the reason why we love going to the movies. You guys, you don't want to miss this. I want to talk about a couple of my favorite sequences in this movie, again, without giving too many spoilers, but the moments that absolutely hit, involving him, Donnie Yen, the tracker, and this other individual that he's after, who this actor's wearing a fat suit, which what is going on with all of these male actors in fat suits, man? They're killing it. They're killing it. I'm not complaining here. Brandon Fraser killed it. Colin Farrell killed it, and now this dude, this MMA fighter, whoever he is in this movie, he's the real deal, man, and he kills his role in this. There's a whole action sequence between them, and they're playing cards at a table, and it just elevates to this club and rain pouring on them. It is the most beautifully shot sequence, I think, in probably all of the movies. This is the best filmed of all of them. Seriously, truly. Another one involving towards the very end, John is on his way to the church where they're going to have the duel. On his way up the stairs, there's of course bounty hunters, and he has to take them on one by one, getting to the very top only to be thrown down the bottom and having to start all over again. Now, this is a good example of what they do with the action throughout the entire movie, because when you think he's just like one, when you think he's right at the top, when everything is about to like go his way, no, someone just kicks him back down, and he's right at the beginning where he started off of. And to see that level of a hero, that progression of no matter what, I'm always going to get back up. I have 2 minutes left. I have 3 minutes left. And no matter if the clock is ticking against me. Another particular action sequence involving John blasting this shotgun fire blaster modified weapon at these dudes going up the stairs, and the camera does one of those Quentin Tarantino things where it's like facing downwards and it's like now floating in the sky, and you're inside a building, you're not outside, you're inside a room, and the camera is just floating and he's blasting people, going through doors, door by door, blasting by blasting, and it just doesn't end. It just doesn't end. You got nunchucks, you got knives, you got guns, you got everything that you love about this franchise. It's times 3 in this. It is a satisfying, entertaining movie. It has a fantastic car chase towards the end that just does not quit, man. The Man in Black, dude. The soundtrack in this movie is so sci-fi and so Western, like the two merging together. This is the most emphasized of the genre that they could possibly do. And look, my hat's off to these guys, truly. I do think my only notes, my only concerns was they should have developed the story more. They're so focused on diving more into the world and more secrets and more coins and more secret codes and all this stuff. And don't get me wrong, that stuff is definitely sexy and cool and stylized, but you have to go back to the story and everything that matters to him in his heart. You have to get to know him a little bit more as a character. I know people kind of like jokingly make fun of how like Keanu just like stands there and says one line and doesn't really talk very much. He could do more. I agree. He could do more. He's the best at what he does with the action and being so self-contained as the role needs him to be. However, I do think he can definitely, like the first movie, right before they put the bag over his head in the warehouse, when he starts like screaming, "Yeah, I think I'm back!" Like everybody knows that, and I don't think we've had him losing his anger and his temper throughout the movie. He just does what he does. I think it would have been a lot more intense if we saw the anger and everything through his facial expressions, if he was just a little bit more in the grind, because he is kind of just making the same face throughout the entire movie. I'm gonna be completely honest, but this isn't the Fast and Furious. This isn't Transformers. This isn't the Marvel movies. This isn't Mission Impossible or James Bond. It's not trying to be anything. It's only itself. It is becoming the better version of itself. With all of its years of experience, it is bringing all of that together for a satisfying, I would say, conclusion, but I don't think it's a conclusion. Very curious what it is you guys think when this movie comes out. Please let me know your thoughts, your level of excitement in the description below, or tweet at me at It's Isaac Joel. And I want to have a full-on forum with you guys about this movie, because I know that this is going to blow a lot of people's minds. It will. It truly will. I have been your host, Isaac Joel, and this has been The Critics at Agents of Fandom. I'll catch you next time.